What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly, the show where each and every week we talk about comic book news, our top fives, our most anticipated, and much more. I'm Chris, Dark Avenger C86. Next to me is the lovely Cat Comic Uno.
Hey guys, what is up?
And underneath me is the charismatic Brant Fowler, Last Ember Press.
Charismatic, I like it.
Hey, listen,
Hey, what's up, everybody?
I'm the one that's doing the intro. I make the rules now. So,
well, the rules.
I've never been accused of being charismatic. I kind of like it.
Accused sounds horrible. It sounds like, oh man, that charismatic guy. You gotta stay away from him.
I can't be charismatic. No, not me.
No, not at all. That's something wrong with that.
He's turning red. Look at him, Cat. He's blushing.
Oh, he is. You flattered him.
I did. I
blush easily. Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
Especially when Chris compliments you. That's when you blush.
I have that effect. That makes
it's such a rare occasion, So
that was a low blow, and I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to turn it over to Cat now for the news.
Yes. Well, first of all, we have a huge topic today, which is Tim Drake's bisexuality. So we're excited to discuss that, but that's going to be towards the middle of the show. So after we talk about the news, we'll let you guys know when we're chit-chatting about Batman Urban Legends and Tim Drake in general. So I do hear a little bit of an echo. I think it might be on your side, Chris.
That's because I brought the mic to my face. Yes, give me one second and I will fix that little issue.
All right. Well, as Chris fixes that, it just got worse.
Yeah, it did.
How about now?
Hello. Yeah, you're good now. And hey, everyone who's in the comments, we are going into some news. So we're going to start out with the media news here, which is that Green Lantern's daughter is joining Stargirl. So that is Jade. I am not caught up on Stargirl. I've only seen the pilot. So, Brant, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I actually really liked the first season, so I'm kind of excited by this. I love Jade in the comics, so it's cool. They needed a Green Lantern character. They kind of teased it all season. They kept showing like the lantern and everything, and so it's kind of cool that they're incorporating that. And I'm excited that the second season is almost here, right on the tail of me finishing the first season. So that's good.
Those are always the best types of binges. I just finished Invincible literally today.
Yes.
So that was fun. Finally got
What'd you think about the train
right
scene?
Before the show. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was watching with a couple of friends and we were like, oh my God.
Right?
That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy. I really liked the last
Yeah.
episode and I think it picks up a lot. And I think it's really fun to watch with people. I don't know if I would have had as much fun watching it by myself. So
I didn't have a choice.
Lisa's definitely not watching that. Yeah. I know Mike watched with his son, so at least he had his son to watch it with. But yeah, really good acting. So I'm glad I got to catch up.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier might be next. We'll see. We'll see if we get to that. But going into the next thing we're going to chit chat about, which is Jamila Jamil, who is from The Good Place, is going to be playing a She-Hulk villain. I love her. I think she's great. I love The Good Place. So, yes, I'm even more excited for this show.
Yeah, it's an interesting casting choice. She's playing Titania, I believe. And that's, they're definitely going for a different vibe for some of these characters, but I'm totally cool with it. I love her, too. I also love Good Place. Very funny show, and she's great on it. And so, yeah, I'm kind of excited, more excited for it now, too.
So I do have Chris to answer this one as well. So this is the next topic, a new He-Man Netflix trailer, if you wanted to talk about that really quickly.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. This is going to get me to get Netflix again because I actually let go of Netflix for a little bit. I need to watch this when it comes out. I'm excited for He-Man. I don't know about Brant. I know Brant likes Joe. I'm not sure about the He-Man.
Oh yeah, I was totally. That was like my afternoon. It was He-Man and Transformers and G.I. Joe and all that stuff, and it's coming out soon too. It's like next month is part 1.
Yep.
This was cool. It was like they kind of brought you in with that 80s vibe. It was very familiar, and then the animation is just a little bit crisper. Has just I don't know, a cool modern, little flair to it, but it's very reminiscent of what came before, and that it's continuing on from those stories. But I'm assuming a little bit more story driven and less selling toys. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
So speaking of cartoons, and we're moving into the comic book news, which there's other news about this show that we won't be discussing, but go on Twitter if you want to check that out. Harley Quinn, the anime series, gets a comic continuation. I don't know if Brant knows what I'm talking about, but I see him smiling.
I don't.
The Twitter discourse.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try explaining this as PG. As PG as possible, okay. But the discourse on the Harley Quinn season 3 was supposed to have a certain scene with Batman and Catwoman, where Catwoman would be very, very happy with him in a sexual way. But Batman is not a giving person. So because DC said heroes shouldn't be giving.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha.
Was that
clears it up completely.
Was that as PG as I could get?
That was more PG than I think I could have done it, actually.
That was very PG.
Very good.
Jack, congrats.
Yeah, I'm.
But very clear too. I totally got what you were saying. Yeah. Very
clear and concise. So Harley Quinn has been in the news a lot this week, and I won't go into that discourse too much because we are going to try keeping it PG. Just letting you know that is a discourse out there, and I love Harley Quinn, and I think they should have been able to do the thing they wanted to do. And I'm very excited for the comic because it's going to continue after season 2, and it's going to be them on their road trip, and it's going to be Poison Ivy and Harley in love, and I'm stoked. So I'm very excited. So moving on to the next thing, because I'm the only one who watches Harley Quinn, which is a shame because everyone should be watching Harley Quinn. It's a great show.
I've looked at it. It's okay.
Season 2.
It's
season 1. Read the comic, maybe. Just give the comic a chance. Good stuff. Sweet says you're missing big time on Stargirl. I'm gonna get there. I just finished Invincible, so I'm trying. Let's see if there's any other comments. Did you have any thoughts on the Guardians of the Galaxy video game, Chris? I don't know much about it.
It looks so good. Pre-ordered.
So there you go. That's the thoughts on Guardians.
How sad is that?
Me either, honestly. I didn't really have any.
Wow. It's okay. I know. I'll let you guys know how good or bad it is. I'm going to stream it.
Yeah, you have to let us know how it works out, that one.
I love how she didn't say how good or bad it was. She just literally went to, you'll let us know how it went.
No, because I'm not going to be picking it up, but I want to hear your experience about it. Like, I want to hear if you're happy. That's what makes me happy.
Gotcha.
We also have, I guess this is a big question here for Chris as well. Any opinion on E3 as a whole?
I did not watch E3 this year. Instead, I waited for all the trailers for the games to come out on YouTube, and I watched the trailers. The games were excellent. A lot of the games look really, really good. I talked about it on Dark Avenger Live yesterday. If you want my opinion on games, Tevye, what games I'm looking forward to. The actual show E3, no. I still didn't even watch the Nintendo conference today because I was busy on the phone most of today. So I still have to watch the Nintendo conference. But I do know what came out of Nintendo, and I'm really excited for the stuff that's coming out of Nintendo.
Yeah, I heard some big news on Nintendo, Metroid, and all that fun jazz. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
I completely forgot E3 this year.
Honestly, again,
I was a little busy,
I'm going to be honest with you, Brent. If I wasn't reminded, I would have forgot too, or all the trailers showing up on my subscription feed on YouTube would have reminded me.
I mean, I literally finished moving 2 days ago, so it's like I haven't had time to concentrate on anything else. So.
Yeah, Brant will catch up. Don't you guys worry. But we are moving on to the next thing, which is Aqualad becomes a new Aquaman in the new mini series, which I'm stoked for. I really liked him in that Future State stuff. That's really the only thing I liked from Future State. So I'm excited to see him in a mini series and take that over and see what that's all about.
Yeah, I mean, and I love him from Young Justice as well. I mean, it's just that character in general is just really cool, and it seems like the natural progression for him to become Aquaman. So yeah, I'm stoked for it as well.
And moving on to the next thing here, which is Skybound X will not be collected, which I thought was super interesting because most of the time when you're talking about comics, the money is in collecting and the money's in trades more than single issues, more than the floppies. So hearing that, I think they're really trying to get these single issues to sell out. I think that's definitely the big thing to try to get it reprinted and try to do that because when it's not being collected, that's the only chance you'll ever have to get it. So this is going to be Scalper City, I think.
Oh, absolutely. It was definitely monetary reasons behind that. No other reason than to get, like you said, those sales numbers up for that. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate though that it's not going to be collected because if you do miss it in single issues, you're out of luck. So
you can read it digitally.
If they're releasing it digitally, are they releasing it digitally?
I think so. I think they're doing single issues digitally. I would guess they didn't say they weren't.
Yeah.
They're saying they're not collecting print.
Yeah.
So
still, I mean, like if you want to collect them, I guess it's all about the collectors, which is kind of cool too. I guess it depends on what kind of reader and collector you are, whether this is good news for you or bad news. So.
On the flip side, I mean, Todd McFarlane is doing amazing for Image. So I mean, if Robert Kirkman wants to screw it up, I mean, let him screw it up.
He is doing well for Spawn. I could definitely agree with that. So we'll see how it works out, or if this is a good thing or not.
I hope so. I mean, Todd McFarlane has always been for the fans. I think. I hope I'm not putting foot in mouth. From what I've seen, I mean, he's kept his book at $2.99. His figure line has always been reasonably priced, and he doesn't sell them out really quick. He's very nice to fans. He's done interviews with people. He's very nice in general. I hope I'm right when I say that.
No, from what I've seen on social media, I agree.
Yeah. And I mean, even though I'm not the hugest Larson fan, I mean, Savage Dragons, he keeps that cost low too, I believe.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
So they try. So moving into the next topic, which is that Batman / Fables crossover miniseries is happening. I only read pieces of Fables. I don't know a ton about it, but it's going to be, I believe, the wolf character, whatever his name is.
Bigsby.
Okay.
Bigsby versus Batman. I think I'll give it a shot. I think I'd give that first issue a shot. And it's cool that they've been doing this a lot with Batman.
I'm looking forward to it.
I've never read Fables. I've always wanted to, and I just never found the time to do it. But this is cool, and I believe it's following up with a brand new Fables series afterwards, right?
I believe so. If I read it correctly,
that's cool for longtime fans of the series too.
When I was working in my daycare, one of the parents found out I love comic books, and for Christmas and for another holiday. Instead of giving, the normal present, he had a collection of Fables. So what he did was he gifted me his Fables books for both holidays.
That's cool.
You might like this. And I started reading it, and I said, he is not wrong. And I think I have the first 5 volumes of it. And I read them a long time ago, though. I don't remember now, but they were good. I remember saying, I'm going to continue this. I should have continued it.
It's your chance.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list too. If I can answer the name changes real quick. I moved into a new house actually. So that's why everything looks different and nothing's on my wall. But
and also why we took a week off. I don't even remember. Was that last week? Was it
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Was that last week? Man, I don't even know what day it is anymore, if I'm being honest. But we are moving into the last news piece, and then we're going to go into our big topic. So new Teen Titans series, which is really interesting. So it's focusing on the classic Teen Titans. Superboy's in it, it looks like. It says Donna Troy, Superboy, Nightwing, Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and Red Hood.
So
it's going to be in this.
Superboy, that might make me leave Suicide Squad.
Yeah, no, I'm curious about that. If this is like an Elseworld, or it says, I don't know, honestly. Or maybe Superboy Prime. Not sure. But new series.
Yeah, and it seems like it's centered around some kind of mystery. So you take all these characters that I love and put it into a mystery, which I also love, and I'm totally there for that. I can't wait for it, actually.
Well, especially for me, for someone who hasn't been enjoying Academy, I'm very excited to get a Teen Titans story that and not feel as bad that I'm not reading Academy.
Yeah, for sure.
So that should be pretty cool. So that's all the news. So we're gonna get into the big topic here, which is from Batman Urban Legends. So we're gonna put a little spoiler alert thing here because
I got it. I would like to say while I'm getting it also, please in the comments be civil about the topic we're about to talk about.
Yes, please.
We don't want stupidity, and that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Okay.
Yeah, we would definitely like everything to be civil here. So the reason I came up with this topic, there's a huge, big, I think, narrative and weave of the web here because this week was DC Pride anthology, right? So a lot of great. Obviously, it's Pride Month, so. I'm reading the Pride Month book, and I am actually going to say this. And again, I'm bisexual, so I'm part of the queer community, the LGBTQ community. But when I was reading the Pride Month book, I liked it, but I didn't love it. It didn't even make my top 5. So
yeah, same.
I was sad. Yeah, it didn't make my top 5 because there are some stories, and I guess we could talk about Pride Month in the Pride issue as well here. There's some issues that some stories I really liked. Like Batwoman, thought was great. You could tell a queer writer wrote it. All of them, obviously, you can, but there was very much about the queer experience. I love Jess Chambers. I've enjoyed them a lot from the Future State stuff, and I like little moments. Like I liked Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. I like the language in it. The end of that issue, and you could tell like a queer writer wrote it, where it's just in the end they're like, oh, they're totally U-hauling, which in the queer community is usually 2 women that are dating. They end up moving very quickly because there's a stereotype / cliche that 2 women move very quickly. So U-hauling means that they're going to move in very quickly. So I love like seeing little language like that. I thought was really great. But not every character is my favorite. So even like the Alan Scott stuff I thought was really long. I'm not a huge fan of Midnighter. And this kind of goes into my bigger topic is that, and I'll say the same thing about Marvel, is that some of these characters that they focus on for queer characters, like I feel like they're holding back on others, like they celebrate, okay, Batwoman because they're built on being a queer character, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy because I guess we took a really long time to get to that route, but then there's other characters that have been queer coded for a very long time that they haven't pushed the envelope with. And we'll talk about that with Marvel even more, but like Tim Drake, and we're going to talk about the Tim Drake thing and queer baiting and why that's wrong and all that with this Tim Drake bisexual story. But then you go to Kitty Pryde, Star-Lord. They both pretty much confirm these characters are bisexual, but they are nowhere to be found on the Marvel Pride because it's just like, oh, they're too big of characters. And I hate that, because they weren't, because like a lot, okay, I'm going to go to Tevia's comment where he's like, well, why don't we just make characters that are queer? Because as we said with the Alan Scott thing, people are allowed to discover their sexuality throughout. And just building a character to be queer, that means not saying this always happens, but you're already making the foundation their queerness and that's it. It's kind of cool to see a character that wasn't just built on their queerness, but queerness is a part of them. So something like Tim Drake, where queerness could be a story from him, but that's not where he started. Because with new characters that are queer, they have to start out as queer, or else you guys get angry. You guys are like, well, they weren't queer before. Like, why do they have to announce their queerness in the first issue of their appearance? I don't get that. And because I feel like it's too a double-edged sword, because you guys are complaining that it's just like, oh, well, why are they only do this for new characters? But then like, oh, why are they pushing it down my throat? So like, which one do you want? Organic storytelling or old characters that are allowed to explore their sexuality? So anyways, and sorry for the long list for this, but going into the story that happened. So Batman Urban Legends, we got to see Tim Drake, very queer coded, or at least very queer baity, because like the whole issue is about him being wanting to find a new identity for himself. He's like, I really want to find myself, and somehow off panel broke up with Stephanie Brown.
That was weird. I was like, wait, what?
So that happened, yeah. And then we get to see this really like obvious connection between this guy and him, where he's like, I haven't seen him in a long time, I'm kind of nervous. It feels like a first date. And then there's even the moment where he's like, I'm not going to pay, you don't pay, Mr. Tim Wayne, I'm going to pay. Like, it's very much a date without saying it's a date. And there is a problem with queer baiting in a way, because you're trying to make queer fans happy and say you get what you can get, but you're never actually delivering on the representation. And that's kind of the fear of what they've been doing. I haven't, with Tim, like the fans wanted it, right? They saw him interact with Superboy, and a lot of people wanted it. I never really saw the queerness there. But with this is fan art. For sure. And the fans really pushed it, which was, good and great. But I feel with the character, I hadn't seen it as much before. But then you make it really obvious in this story. Then you're just baiting the people that want it. And it's like, but you're not actually doing real representation. And you're not really doing what this whole month is about celebrating. So it's like they're picking and choosing who they want to talk about. And I don't think that's real representation. It kind of angers me as someone. Yeah, it just doesn't feel genuine. It's like, oh, but they're not too big of a character, so we can talk about their queerness. So and that's kind of the big story I want to say. But I want to hear your opinions because I've babbled.
No, because I kind of felt the same way about Tim, because I never saw any inclination of that before with him, and I was a little afraid that we were going to get the Iceman treatment with him, and that it was just abrupt and there was no reason or rhyme behind it. This story did very much feel like that with him, though. And it's like he's a young enough character that he could still be discovering himself if they full on go there. But like you said, it's just a little tease.
You don't know if
it's a little tease in this story. Right.
They did the same thing with Night Gwen this week, too, which I'm sure we're going to end up talking about. Did you guys read Night Gwen?
Yeah, very, very much, very similar. And like you said, they've done similar things with Kate Pride in the past, up until recently, where they've been a little bit more outward with it. So yeah, it's I don't know, it sends kind of a confusing message, and it's like, what are you actually trying to say here? So I'll be curious to see where that particular story progresses and how they handle that going forward.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It just kind of blows my mind, and I'm kind of upset about with it, right? Like I feel like comics are a more progressive medium than a lot of others, but let's go into the bisexuality for a second. There's not a lot of characters that are bisexual in comics, like at all.
Right.
And they definitely don't talk about it.
Either you're gay. They don't really like to play with the bisexual card.
Yeah. I mean, Harley comes to mind.
Other than Harley. Harley is one of you.
Right, that's what I was saying, yeah.
And she doesn't, and not that you have to talk about your bisexuality if you're bisexual, but she doesn't really talk about it very often. It's just like, she just talks about
that's kind of the whole point of that whole story. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, which is fine. Totally. Yeah, sorry. I was just saying, which is fine. But then you see Nico, Nico from Runaways, that they've completely ignored her bisexuality just to get with Carolina. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, she has a journey too. There's something to say there. She likes boys, and she also likes girls, and she's just figuring this out. Why are we not talking about her bisexuality and putting it under the rug?
Yeah. Or you go the other route with that what was it? Was it New Avengers or Young Avengers? That one that none of us liked. That was just like everybody became bisexual for a bit.
Yeah. Young Avengers, which also makes it if everyone's bisexual, then there's not a story there either. It makes bisexuality less important, I don't know if that's the correct words I should be using, but you know what I'm saying. It's just there's an identity of bisexuality that there's no one's talking about it. The experience of being bisexual. So to have a character like Tim do it, that'd be awesome, especially because he's so known for being with Stephanie. It'd be kind of cool just to see him explore his identity and what that means. And I don't know. It's so frustrating. It really is, because especially during Pride Month.
Yeah, the name changes. When I was talking about Iceman, because he talked about how Iceman was outed, I wasn't talking about the way that he was outed. I was talking about that there was never any evidence or anything pointing to him being gay before, and he was just suddenly gay. That's what I was referring to. That it didn't make sense in the story, and if it could have been handled better, differently, that would have made it feel more organic. So that's all.
See, with Tim, I kind of feel like, and it's not because of the fan art with Tim and Connor, I just feel like Tim always felt like he could be bisexual, in my opinion. I always had the inclination that Tim would go either way, even though he was with Steph. I mean, then he broke up with Steph. He was with Cass. Him and Connor were very close in the Teen Titans when they restarted it. He was very close with Bunker, who was very openly gay.
Yeah, I think with Tim, I always felt Steph was a little bi too. Stephanie, a little bi.
Definitely, no, definitely. Stephanie has those vibes also a little bit.
I think she's got some bi vibes for sure. Yeah. Who knows where they'll end up going? What were you gonna say, Brent?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, with Tim, it would make sense, you know, it just because of his personality and he was, you know, because of all the Bat kids, I'm thinking like Jason and Dick and him. Obviously Tim would be the one that you could go that route with. So yeah, I could totally see it. His friendship with Connor, I never saw any like he was. I don't know. I never saw like what's the word I'm looking for. I'm trying to be.
I'll help you. I'll help you navigate.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm just trying to say, like Chris said earlier.
You never saw his queerness. You never saw his queerness right away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you said that earlier too. With him and Connor, I just saw a friendship, but at the same time, I wasn't looking for it, so I don't know.
But you saw all the fan art I did.
Oh no, the fan shipping, yes, so that's very evident, you know. But as far as in story, I didn't see, you know, that. At least maybe it's just because it wasn't mutual. So maybe I just didn't pay attention to it as much.
The people are allowed, because I see someone made a comment, hashtag suddenly gay. No one's suddenly gay, but people are allowed to discover themselves, especially with bisexuality. You know, you could be with, you know, a different gender for a long time and then realize later in life when you're out of a relationship or whatever, like, oh, never mind. Like, I do feel bi, and this is like the reasons why. Like, you know, it's something you can discover throughout life, especially bisexuality, or even being gay. It's not suddenly. And I think a lot of people get upset when it's like old characters, like, because I never saw it, you know. We were talking about with Tim as well, but there's ways to explore that story, you know. And because, like, all right, Spider-Man's been around for 80 years. It's not a story that would have been explored in 1950. I'm not saying Spider-Man's bisexual, but I'm just giving an example. It's like, you know, our culture has changed about how we view sexuality. A lot of people are allowed to explore their sexuality, and the Kinsey scale exists, which means, if you guys don't know what the Kinsey scale is that everyone's on a scale of gay to straight, and it tips, and it's either a romantic scale or the sexual scale, and we're all in different areas. You know, it's like everyone's on the scale, and I think people are kind of, now the Gen Z generation's more exploring. We're allowed to be who we are and to express our sexuality, even if we live in a very heteronormative society.
Yeah. It's hard because you couldn't, like you said, you couldn't do that in the 60s. You couldn't put those kind of stories in with your main characters. It just wasn't as accepted. And I could understand why people would want representation of those top tier characters. And when it makes sense to explore that with the character, you know, why not? Because, I mean, you know, we all want representation. So I had another point I was going to make and I totally lost it. But
hopefully you find. I found another comment from Brawley Khan. Can we focus more on relationships and stories, making not just sexuality? Without a positive relationship, the sexuality is just weak storytelling. I agree and disagree, because I don't think your sexuality should be defined of who you're with. And especially with bisexuals, that is usually a big thing, where it's just like, if I don't see it, I don't believe you. Where it's just like, okay, let's say you're in a heteronormative looking relationship, people will be like, well, then you're straight. It's like, well, no, I'm bi, because I still am attracted to girls. And it's like, if you're with a girl, again, I'm speaking as a cis woman, I'm saying this, but if you're with a girl, be like, oh, you gay. And it's like, no, I'm still bi, you know? So that's why it's hard to say, let's just focus on the relationships, because individuals, like, their identity is still important.
There's a especially difference between monogamy and your sexual preference. If you're with someone, it doesn't change that you're bi, you're bi.
Right, yeah.
It just means that you're inclusive to someone you love. If you're talking about
Yeah.
that, where it's like, oh, I like girls and I still want to be with girls, now you're going into polyamory, which is a completely different topic altogether.
Sure, and that has nothing to do with the sexuality at all. And sometimes it is.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's a completely different topic outside of that. But people can be buying exclusive to a single person. Doesn't change your bisexuality.
I remember what I was going to say. You brought up Alan Scott earlier, so that was an example of I think they handled his coming out really well. Not in this story, but in the story that we had read before, where he came out to his sons, and how he had to kind of I guess hide it in a way, but because of the times where he was a golden age hero, it wasn't acceptable. And then in this story in DC Pride, they kind of explored his first love that died on that train when he got his powers, and how he kind of just continued on from that. But I think that's a really good example of what you were talking about, where you said, okay, well, they were never gay before, why are they gay now? That can happen with someone that feels like they have to hide it because of society and because of everything that's going on around them. So,
and I think a really good example is that a lot of people complain about the Iceman thing. And as a queer person, I complain about the Iceman thing because no one should be outed, and the way they did it was not good. And I think a big difference, and not saying that straight people can't write queer relationships or queer people, because I definitely think they can. I think they just need to do the research. And in that regard, I don't think they did Brian Michael Bendis didn't do his research. Because if you did talk to any other queer person, they would be like, oh, don't let Gene out them, because that's wrong. A lot of people have been outed and that's traumatic to people. So with Alan Scott, that was written by a queer person that too has experienced those things. So I think that's also a big difference. And again, no gatekeeping here, or gatekeeping.
No gatekeeping.
No gatekeeping, but no gatekeeping here. I definitely believe everyone should be able to write their own stories, but I think you need to do the research. So if you're a straight person writing a queer story, please talk to a queer person. Let a queer person read it, because then your story is going to end up being better. And that's exactly what everyone keeps saying. I just want good stories. Don't throw their sexuality down your throat. I think a good story is telling a story about sexuality, but that not being your only facet. Being able to tell, because coming out story is very important, and that should be told. And it's still part of your identity, but there's other things to tell too. And I think that balancing act is very important.
I would just like to highlight this. You all are absolutely and completely insane. There's no other way to describe you. Well, I never said I was sane post Shard. So I don't know. I'm not speaking for Brand or Kat, but I never said I was sane to begin with. So
I would like to say I'm sane. We're all allowed to have different opinions for sure. This is just our opinion, and hopefully you guys can respect it. But that's kind of my stuff on Tim Drake. I, definitely want to hear everyone's opinions in the comments about it. But do we have any other thoughts on our main topic here?
I hope that first of all, I hope it's not baiting, because I think that would kind of be horrible, especially during Pride Month. I guess we'll find out in the next issue. Yeah. But I'm not against it. I mean, if Tim's bisexual, it fits him. It fits his character. I mean, that's my opinion. Agreed.
Tell me a good bisexual story. I agree. My opinion is, do not just tell me this story to not do anything with it. Is exactly like the Kitty Pryde thing. And I'll go to it like, you're just doing it for the headline. That is when you're just doing it for the headline. Please tell me a good bisexual story and how Tim is being affected by this, and what it means, because that's important. And that's what real representation is. And I think we need more of. And I don't really feel like we've gotten many characters telling the real bisexual experience, and that's a shame.
True.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. So thank you guys for sure. I think we're going under the radar, but I know, Chris, you did not have a chance to read your books this week.
Yeah, this week has been, last week and this week has been absolutely insane. So I was not able to read my books. So I think we're flipping it this week. We're doing most anticipated first, and then I'm going to excuse myself from the show. So Kat and Brant will be doing the top 5 and under the radar and the chopping block together, since I didn't get a chance to read anything.
Okay, before we do that, we do need to do our Kickstarter shout out.
Yes,
we
do.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Yeah, so we actually have 2 shout outs this week. We have Nathan Luth, Rhymes with Truth, and Luis Torres. These were both backers of our Kickstarter for season 1 of the audio version of this show, which you can here on Fridays. Goes live everywhere you listen to podcasts. But we definitely want to shout out Nathan and Lewis. So thank you guys.
Thank you very much. And yes, we're doing things a little backwards. So we're going to be most anticipated. So Brant's going to read that.
Yep. All right. So let me pull up that tab because I was not there. All right. So let's talk about these books. These are books that come out today and tomorrow that we're most excited for. So we got, let's start with Venom 35. Is this the one? Is this the last issue?
I think this is the second to last issue. Or is it the last? No,
second to last issue. Okay.
For which one? Sorry.
I can't remember.
Venom.
Yeah, this is the last issue.
Okay, I thought it was the last issue. So yeah, this will hopefully give us some insights into where things are headed for the new series. So I'm really excited to see how they handle this. A big milestone issue too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm checking it out, even though I don't really usually read Venom, just because we've been reading King in Black. So I'm going to give it a shot.
Cool. All right, book that Kat and I have marked new from Boom called Save Yourself, which I thought was a really interesting concept. It's like, what if magical girls weren't actually the heroes? And it also looked like really cool art. So I'm excited to check that one out.
Totally on board. This seems exactly what Boom does really well usually. So it looks different. I hope it's a new indie to fall in love with which honestly this whole year has come. Boom and Image have come up with some really good ones. So I'm excited. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, and sticking with Boom, we'll just go right onto 7 Secrets, which we all love, and Chris needs to catch up on.
Yeah, he's going to catch up on it.
Yeah. But that's always a good book every time it comes out, except that one issue, which was weird. I have to bring that up every time, though.
Because such a strange one. I don't even know where this one's going. I don't really remember what happened last issue, so.
I don't either. I was hoping you'd fill in the blanks.
I really don't remember because I think it was an action issue, if I remember correctly, and it wasn't in anyone's top 5.
Right. Yeah, it was very action heavy, that issue, because it was coming off that one that was weird, right? So. Now we're getting back into it, so we'll see what happens. Then we got Batman Fortnite 0 Point number 5. Last issue was so good. I can't wait for this one. I just love this series.
I'm really excited. I am really excited. Yeah. And I really hope that since they're putting Superman in August, maybe we'll get an announcement for a second volume to Fortnite, maybe with Superman this time.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
Brent, I know you've been having fun. Too. I unfortunately couldn't join you last night, but you've been having fun with this. How are you liking the just to break subject for just 2 seconds? How are you liking the new season with the UFOs and stuff?
Oh, I love it. I'll just say this real quick, and then we'll move on, Kat. I promise.
No, but you guys, we're very ahead of schedule. If you guys want to talk about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love that. There's just so many different things to do now. It's becoming more like many other MMORPG open world kind of games where you can craft weapons now, you can go on side quests, you can fight the NPCs, you can fight each other, you can fish. Yeah, you can do so many different things in Fortnite now that it's just changed the game so much, and it makes it more fun because you can just choose am I going to go try to kill people this time, or am I going to go try to finish this quest or answer the phone and finish this side quest, or like you said, fish. So it's cool. I'm having fun with it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and this I will say this comic book has been really good because again it's expanding not just with Batman, but it's expanding the lore of the 0 Point in Fortnite.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool. All right, and moving on from that, we've got a brand new number 1 with Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm not looking forward to it.
I'm not looking. I'm hopeful though, Kat. I'm hopeful.
I'm hopeful.
A cool sword.
I haven't liked a Tom King book in a long time, so that's my biggest worry. And I haven't seen him write except Catwoman. I actually think he did a pretty good job at writing Catwoman. I haven't seen him write female characters in general. As main leads. Or at least they all sound the same, but all his male characters sound the same too. So I don't know, man. I'm giving it a shot, but I'm not too excited.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm cautiously optimistic about it, but
we'll pick it up.
We'll see. Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk about it. That'll probably be one of the first books we all read. We'll talk about it.
I'm sure.
Briefly. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Radiant Black, issue 5, which is another book that Chris, you gotta read this book, man. This is like this is the first issue after we find that everything went down, right? So it's like, okay,
Chris could probably jump in this issue because it's a new kind of chapter. Yeah, because the other guy died. So
new character taking the mantle. So
yeah.
So excited. This is unprecedented, right? It's like completely different. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. We got Static Season 1. I'm curious about this one. I want to see, how they handle Static this time around.
I'm very excited. The artwork looks really good, and it looks in tune to the cartoon, which I think is the smartest move because that's what mostly people know Static from. So I am very excited. I love Static, the cartoon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was really good. And then we got Planet Size X-Men, number 1.
We will be discussing X-Men. We'll be discussing Hellfire Gala.
Yeah. So I can't say much about this yet, but I'm as with everything X-Men right now, I'm just curious to see what.
You're very excited.
Are you laughing at me?
No, I'm laughing because you're just
very excited.
No, I'm laughing because
I don't know.
You definitely do not seem excited.
I just don't know what to say about this one because it's like I was trying to save my words for when we actually talk about the X books, but it's just like I have no idea where the heck this thing is going. So I don't know what this.
Yeah,
you do.
I was just gonna say I have not I didn't read all the issues this week. That's how badly I didn't like Hellfire Gala.
Okay.
Like I only read like the ones I usually bought, and I decided I'm not reading all of them because they really did not tie in enough for me.
Gotcha. Okay, we'll talk about that when we get to big books. But let's see. I think the last book that we have, just want to make sure I've got them all. Yeah. All right. So the last book we have, Chris was actually talking about this before we went live. Nightwing, issue 81.
81 sold out. Apparently, Tom King was boasting how everyone already sold out.
Tom Taylor, yeah.
Taylor. See, we were talking about King. Tom Taylor said it would already sold out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's cool. This series is doing so well since he took it over. It seems like every issue there's just something big going on with it, either actually in the story or with selling out or some really cool cover. He's always highlighting Bruce Redondo's interior art, which is phenomenal. This book is just so good. I would not be surprised if it's my number 1 next week again. So we'll see.
Yeah,
and that's it.
I'm stoked. That's it.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. I'm on a slight delay. That's why there's big pauses. I apologize for that. But that's all. That's all the most anticipated.
All right. So before we move on to our big books, top 5s, and all that, I am going to excuse myself because unfortunately this week I did not get a chance to read the books. But Kat, Brent have an awesome show. Things coming out for me. Check my Twitch channel. I officially have a schedule now on Twitch. And as far as YouTube, I was going to do a video for Dark Avenger this week. Unfortunately, due to technological issues that I do not wish to get into, that is being pushed to now next week. But it'll make for a good newsletter next week also. I'll tell you all that much. But anyway, till then, everybody, I hope you all have a great week. You guys have a great rest of the show, and I will see you all next time.
All right, bye, Chris.
Take care.
All right. So getting under the radar, I guess. And then Brent, if you want to do the top 5 again this week. I guess I'll do the under the radar. That way you did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So under the radar for me this week was American Vampire. I know I'm literally the only one who reads it, but I thought it was a very solid issue. We get to dive in a bit with Skinner's storyline with seeing him be a hero. He's been an anti-hero for most of the book, so to see him kind of save the world in a way was a lot of fun and really cool to read as we get towards the end of this book.
Cool.
How about you, Brant? What was your under the radar?
Mine was Strange Academy number 11. This was such a good issue. Toth, who is he's made of crystals. He's from Weird World, and he's dating another character, one of the other students, and they're like studying for finals, and he stays late, and the next day they find him dead, and he's shattered. And not only that, his heart shard is missing, and nobody knows why. And it's like this whole conspiracy, and they bring in Howard the Duck to investigate and question all the kids. And it was just a fun issue, murder mystery kind of thing. They were trying to bring him back to life by putting them back together because, why not? And it ends up being one of the fellow students who got, like, this was a callback to when all the kids were lost in Weird World, and something happened to this particular student, and he's like possessed by something, and now he's responsible for this, and he doesn't even know he's doing this. So it's just this series has been so much fun, and it's gotten better and better with each issue. And I think if Mike was here, he would have loved this issue too. But yeah, that's why I made my Under the Radar.
Cool. So now we're going to top 5. So let's get started with that.
Yeah. So the first books we're actually going to talk about is those X-Men books, the Hellfire Gala, X-Men number 21, Excalibur number 21, and Children of the Atom number 4. And I actually read all 3 of them, believe it or not.
I did not. I read half of Excalibur. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to read the books they usually do, because they don't really add together that much. They're very much about that series, which kind of bothers me. It doesn't feel like X of Swords where you're like, okay, I need to read this book to kind of get the next chapter. It all just feels like what we predicted, same night, different scenery.
Right. And I completely agree with you. And I probably wouldn't have read Excalibur if I'd known that. I was like rushing through my books, and I started reading Excalibur, and it was like they were congratulating Rogue on being on the the X-Men. I'm like, oh crap, I got to read X-Men first. So I went over there and read that first, and I just came back and like skimmed the rest of Excalibur. But it was totally like that. It was totally just about what happened with them and with Richter and Apocalypse and all that stuff. And I haven't been reading Excalibur, so I was totally lost on a lot of that. So I agree. You probably only need to read the books that you actually normally read, and you'll fill in all the pieces. But I do want to talk about Children of the Atom for a second, because it was actually pretty good, this issue.
Oh, damn. Are you picking it up again?
I might, because I was on the verge of dropping it. And the way this one came together was really interesting. Like one of the characters, when they kind of flash back to where they were first getting their abilities or learning how their stuff worked or whatever, and all this stuff. And you learn some history about one kid who came into a blended family, and it's the 2 brothers. They're not actual brothers. They're stepbrothers, and I didn't know that before this. So it was an interesting story, and I related to the character a lot in other ways. Kind of his coming from a broken family and not knowing where his place is and trying to fit in and that kind of thing, because I was very much like that growing up, because my parents got divorced when I was very young. And so I was kind of relating to it a lot more, I think. But at the same time, the way they were trying to get into the gala, which was a very loose connection, but they've been trying to get through this gate this whole time, and they saw this as their opportunity. So one character, Buddy.
That's smart.
Yeah. But Buddy steals a shirt from a friend of theirs who they think might be a mutant, who is very unhappy with them, and that causes all kinds of conflict between Buddy and I can't remember the girl's name that Buddy has a crush on. So that kind of caused all this kind of conflict about stealing from him and using his DNA without his knowledge, and brought up all these other issues going on. But as they're trying to access it, they get attacked by these guards, which I assume is Cradle, no, it wasn't Cradle. It was somebody trying to kill them and torture them and experiment on them and all this stuff. It might have been the people that took Domino. I don't remember exactly who it was, but they took them. And so now little stepbrother had to go get the X-Men, and that's how it ends, with all the X-Men coming to rescue these non-mutants who they think are mutants. So it was a pretty solid issue. I liked it. But yeah, that brings us to X-Men, which we got the final reveal of the team, which we already knew.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying because it's just like, all right, a lot of the information we already had. I mean, the ending was kind of interesting with Emma and the whole mind thing, but I'm like, nothing's happening in this book.
Yeah, that was my major problem with it too. It really was just standing around talking and let's put all our thoughts together and let's pick our X-Men, united, on a united front, and everybody gets a choice. And now this is your X-Men that you have chosen. And it's like, okay, it was a little sappy, honestly. So
I agree.
I don't know. I was expecting more out of this, and I still hope what was teased in last week's books is some big thing that we don't see coming, but who knows. But moving on from
that Planet X-Men book, will Planet whatever it's called, will give us a little more, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I want to just talk about Birthright number 50 real quick.
Yeah, was it bad? Was it good?
It was what we feared. Really, it was really nothing. Like, it opens up a year later, and he finally finds the one person he was looking for. The other. Other person from over there, I can't remember her name, but the one that was left, and she had no powers anymore. And they have tea, they talk about it, and she kills herself. And then 5 years later, and her Mikey's daughter is grown up, she's like a 5-year-old now and whatever, and they're in the park and she gets lost, and it's like, oh, is it happening all over again? And it's like, Maya, and then at the very last page, you found me.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess more should have happened there, but yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That was the 50th big finale issue. It's like, okay.
Maybe it shouldn't have lasted 50 issues. I think that might have been the biggest issue.
I think it should have ended at least like 6-7 issues ago, maybe 10. It was kind of a non-ender, so I was a little disappointed with it, but it's what it is. But yeah, so the other big book we have to talk about, we talked about a little bit earlier, which is DC Pride issue 1, which I honestly, before we started, I did not get to finish it. I read about 50 some odd pages of it. So I did not get to read every story, unfortunately. I just ran out of time. But
I forget
I did read
the
a good
last
chunk
stories
of it.
are. What the last story
I didn't read the Dreamer one. I didn't read the Pied Piper one. And I don't remember what else came after that. But I did not get
honestly,
to read those.
after Just Chambers, I didn't really love all the stories anyway, so I think you were fine. They had Justly Queer.
Which one was? No, I didn't get to read that one. Who's Jess Chambers?
That's the non-binary character from Future State.
Okay. I don't know if I read that one or not. Was that after?
That was like a romance. No, it was right before it. It was right after Alan Scott. Okay.
Then I guess I did read it. They're all running together. I'm sorry, like the order that they went in.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Renee Montoya?
No, so there's one with Aquaman's daughter, and they go like on a date, and pretty much like be on time. We're like, okay, and they have to do all the Flash stuff you would know.
Oh, okay, yeah, I did read that one. Okay, I'm sorry. I did read that one. That was good. I like that one. Yeah, I didn't like the Batwoman one. I know you said you did. I did.
I like that. I liked it. Yeah, you go.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying that I like that one because I think it was a reflection of her queerness, and I like the idea of her comparing herself to her sister, and I was like, okay, it was interesting to me.
The Alice, the Looking Glass stuff, the comparison I thought was interesting. I don't know. I never like a Batwoman comic story. I don't know why. I can just never get into them. I just don't think I like the character. Yeah.
If you didn't like the original stuff, if you didn't like any of her beginning stuff, you're not going to like anything that comes after.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I didn't like there was 2 runs and they were very similar. And it was an art style I didn't care for, and I just didn't like the stories either. So yeah, I could never get into her for whatever reason. But yeah, I thought the Renee Montoya story was okay. The Alan Scott one, I thought, like you said, went a little bit long, but I like the sentiment behind it. And I like that it was a continuation of that story that we got before that we talked about. But and the Midnighter one I didn't care for either. It was kind of boring. And the Constantine one was just kind of like, whatever. Yeah, that was the same one, right? Midnighter and Constantine?
Yes, it was the same story.
Yeah. Okay.
That was fine.
So.
I don't like either character that much.
Right. Yeah. But, overall, I thought it was a solid book. I think Ivy and Harley was probably my favorite, but of what I read. And the one you said, I keep forgetting her name, Jess Chambers, but I like that one too.
The Jess Chambers one and Harley and Batwoman were my favorites, so those are good. But I hope Marvel Pride is better. Not saying the DC Pride was bad. I want to love it. I want to make it my number one.
It was in certain ways a typical anthology from DC. In other ways, I appreciate the attempt at not the attempt, but I appreciate the representation, and I appreciate focusing on a lot of characters that I don't normally read. So that was cool. And I do like the fact that Nicole Maines actually wrote the Dreamer story, even though I haven't gotten that chance to read it.
In Batman Urban Legends, the Batwing actor from Batwoman wrote that story. So
interesting. Yeah. So, all right. So moving on to our number 5 then, I guess, unless you had anything else to say about DC Pride?
No. I'm good. I think I said all my queer thoughts while we talked about Tim.
Yeah. So going right into something that we referenced in that, my number 5 is actually Nightwing. So
Nightwing, okay. That's maybe I'm not done talking about my queer thoughts.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said about that, but at the same time, I just love the combination of like Harley and Barbara into one character here, because she's like a psychiatrist and Batgirl basically, and she works with their Batman equivalent, which I thought was cool. But I agree with you that the tease with her and Misty was just like, I wanted more there. So.
There was this whole book. I was trying to tell my friends who like read comics but don't really read comics, and I was trying to explain this book because I was just like, I had to talk about the queer baiting of it all. I was like, the whole book is about Gwen hating men. Well, not hating, but just saying like, I don't like men. Like the whole book's about that. Where it's just like, no, I don't want to go out with you. Don't want to go out with you. And then Flash is like wanting Gwen, and then just like, but I don't want to go out with you. And that's what the whole book's about. And then it's about her relationship with Misty, because the villain wants to be with her, and she's like, I'm not into you.
Yeah, I guess I didn't look at it that way. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even see that. I don't know how I missed that. Sounds pretty obvious. So
only because of the Flash thing. I don't think I would have noticed as much, because like the other stuff is like a bartender axing around. She says no, but it's a lot. That's like, it was some of the most, even more than Tim. And Tim had a lot of queer baiting, but this one was just like every page was almost like, okay, just get with Misty. Why are we not saying anything? And I think what disappointed me is that we don't know if they end up together or if they are together. It was like, oh, they're friends. Like they don't have to say her sexuality. That's not the point. It's just like, if you're gonna put the relationship there, at least end it,
Yeah. No, I completely agree, and that's that kind of got to me as well. It's like, especially when Misty says friend, she actually uses that word when they meet for dinner. So it's like, okay, but it was obvious. It was obviously a date. I mean,
the Bill thing again, man. Both these stories.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about what bill they're gonna pay. But I actually like the story. I had a good time with it. I know it sounds like I'm complaining about it, but it's just interesting that all this happened in the same week.
Yeah, I could totally see this being a thing, like her being Batgirl. It just kind of made sense. So it was kind of cool. So what was your number 5 though?
Mine was Batman Urban Legends, speaking of queer baiting.
Okay.
I like the Jason stuff. I liked him. There was another story in here too. I don't like Grifter, so I didn't quite care about that. But yeah, Tim and Jason, as always, was good.
Yeah, the Grifter story was okay. It's been okay. It's not blowing me away, but I thought this one was fun. And the thing I did like about it, and we kind of talked about it last week with Zealot coming back. I think it was last week. Anyway, it was recent, but they referenced Marlowe and Zealot and Void, which these are all Wildcats characters. And that kind of gives me hope that maybe we're leading up to a Wildcats in the future, which would be cool. So, but yeah, the other stories were okay. I didn't love the Red Hood story this time around, though. I thought other installments were better.
I agree, but it still was good for me. And I like the idea of Jason wanting to push Batman away and just exploring their relationship even deeper. Yeah,
absolutely. I still enjoyed it for sure. All right, so our next big book is The Joker, number 4.
Whew. That was good.
Yeah, man. I actually read both issues because I'd missed last issue somehow. So I read both issues this week. And, man, last issue was when he didn't expect him to be there, right? And he opened the door and there's the Joker. And it's like...
playing in his hand.
And then, Yeah. So this issue, he's got to basically team up with the Joker for a second, and he has the chance to kill him, and he doesn't. And we all knew that was going to happen, right? Gordon's not going to pull the trigger on that. But then he takes him captive again, and brings all that crap up, and it's like, okay, what's going to happen from this point now? Does it give him renewed reasons to go after him again, or has he, kind of resolved within himself that he's not capable of this? You're still kind of left with that ambiguity, and then the added layer of the Court of Owls, the Talons coming for Barbara now. So,
and her searching and finding out more about that woman.
Yeah.
And I love the Batgirls, as you guys know.
Of course,
so just seeing them all team up, it was a solid issue. It was, for all the reasons you said. The monologuing was really good, and it's become definitely, I think, my favorite Batman book. Except Nightwing. Nightwing's probably my favorite, but second favorite.
Yeah, for sure. Really good issue, though. All right, going from Batman to Spider-Man. Let's talk about Amazing Spider-Man 68. The explanation of where Ned's been, sort of.
The last issue was good, and then this happened. I'm exposition crazy in this issue, and then they split their time so much. The beginning was fine. The Ned stuff was just fine, and then going into the lab partner, I'm done. Where's Teresa? Where's the chameleon? What is going on?
Yeah. We just got a little bit of Teresa, and then a little bit of Doc Ock at the end, which was fine. But man, that whole Ned Leeds thing was very exposition heavy, and it's okay, so it's the actual real Ned Leeds, not the clone. And so where has he been? What did he allude to? The part that he can't tell Peter at this point, and yeah, it was just an okay issue. I agree. Last issue was definitely better. And then we got TMNT 117, which again, Chris is not here for this, so I'll be very brief. It was finally the actual battle of the bands, but only one band played because Bebop and Rocksteady realized that, hey, they're better than us. We're not even going to try. So that was your... Yeah. So that was your whole Battle of the Bands issue. And then you got some glimpses into the future, which was kind of cool because there were a whole lot more turtles than we've seen, and a lot of other teases about things to come. So that was fun. It was a fine issue, but not a whole lot there. I was disappointed that there wasn't more battle in the band thing. So
I'd be disappointed.
I'm sure
too.
Chris loved it though. Yeah.
I hope he did.
All right. Yeah. So going into our number 4 is a book that we just talked about because it was your number 5 is Batman Urban Legends for me. So what was your number 4?
Mine was Detective Comics, issue 1037. Digging deeper into this mystery and that dad going a little bit, ape shit, which was really interesting.
Wait, crazy.
That was very cool. I don't know, I liked the whole story. Like, I don't know if this was the strongest out of all of them, but I really like the supporting cast that Mariko's been building and like building this mystery. It feels like a detective book, and having Huntress involved. It was a really solid book for me.
I love that Huntress is in the main story now, and that felt so fluid. Her coming into it, and Barbara asking, "You guys working together?" Oh, he just jumped off the roof, and then him being taken into custody and not being able to escape because he knows he's being watched and all that stuff. I thought it was really well constructed, this story. And then, like you said, Worth. It was like when all the guards left and he's alone. It's like, okay, he's paid the prison off. He's gonna go try to beat some answers out of him or something. Then he pulls out a rocket launcher. It's like, what? This dude just lost his marbles. Okay.
Now that he knows Bruce Wayne is Batman too, because Bruce has just kind of told him that in some regards, because he just came out as Batman while he was chasing Bruce. I'm curious where that's going to go.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The backup stories in this one, not as solid as when Huntress was the backup.
I agree, but it wasn't as bad as other backup stories either.
Yeah, very true.
The Fox story wasn't as interesting to me, but I liked the detective one a little bit more.
The detective one, because it tied in, it felt like an extension of the main story, but the Lucius Fox one was like, okay, whatever. I agree. All right, let's see. That's our number 4s. Then let's go into our next big book, which is, it actually was Detective Comics, and we already talked about Nightwing. So let's talk about Mighty Morphin, which I was honestly a little disappointed with.
Yeah, things slowed down a bit. Not saying it was a bad issue, because I liked some of the, I would say, Matt and Billy's story, like Billy exploring the idea of he betrayed his friends, and same thing for Matt and where their loyalties stand. But the rest was just an action issue and just kind of ends on a simmer. So a big reason why I didn't make my top 5 was because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also like the stuff with Zordon's past and kind of leading into that, and how Zed took, I forget her name, but took the person from his planet. And those were nice little, subplots, but it was heavy action, and it was classic Power Rangers cheesy dialogue throughout that action, which kind of took me out of it a little bit.
I agree. I don't think the character work was as strong, but still strong enough for me to enjoy the issue. Right.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So moving on to our number 3s, again, a book we recently talked about for me was The Joker. So what was yours?
Mine was American Vampire. We already talked about it.
Okay. As I take a drink. Next big book is a book we have not talked about, which is Iron Man number 9, which was kind of what do you want to call it? I can't think of the word.
It was a villain issue. It was a filler issue in some ways, but it was
shifted from the main story. Yeah,
it was Korvac and what he's been up to. And honestly, I was kind of bored. We haven't seen Iron Man in a while.
I know. Yeah. On one hand, I was a little interested. I found it interesting about his past and how he, how he decided to take the routes that he took. His motivations, I guess, for becoming who he became. But at the same time, it was a little boring, and finding Jim Hammond and that whole part of the story was a little boring too. And it's like, okay, now they're turning the original Human Torch evil. Okay, sure. But it ended up not being that in the end. But now he's a slave, which is even worse. So.
Yeah, which is definitely worse. Yeah. I've never been a huge fan of that version of the Human Torch. So I'm like, not as interested.
Yeah. Like I could never get into Invaders because of characters like him and stuff either. So yeah. And a book that I have not read, so you'll have to take this one, is Justice League Last Riot issue 2. I never got around to reading the first issue.
The first issue was really good because it was the idea of Superman being responsible for killing Martian Manhunter. And now we're kind of getting the backstory towards that. Wasn't as strong as that first issue for me. It was definitely a little slower because we kind of got all the information we needed. So hopefully it picks up a bit with the character interactions. But I thought this was a little bit of a weaker issue.
Gotcha. All right. And now we're up to our number 2s already. So
Number 2.
What was your number 2, Kat?
Mine was Nightgwen. We already talked about it.
Okay. We already talked about mine too, which is Strange Academy. I really like that issue. All right. So, yeah, we already talked about our last big book. So, yeah, we're on our number 1, which for me is a book we already talked about. Have we talked about yours?
Yep.
Okay.
We did.
So what was yours?
Mine was the Joker. We already talked about it. So.
Okay. Well, mine was Detective Comics. So there you go.
All Batman.
Bat heavy week. Yeah, all Batman.
Our topic was Batman. Our big books are our number 1. A lot of Batman.
Yeah. And I don't think we have any chopping block books this week, so we get to skip that segment altogether.
Yeah, and we did our most anticipated already. I will say that this week was a little weaker for me. Like that Joker book was 4 stars, and the rest was like 3.5-star books.
Right. Yeah, it was weaker for me as well. There was not a single book that was just like, oh my God, this is absolutely my best book of the week. It was just, I had to do a process of elimination kind of thing. So
yeah, that was disappointing. Yeah. I think next week has a lot more potential. Static is coming out. There's a lot of new number 1s coming out. So like you have the Superwoman, which we'll see.
Yeah.
But we also have like Nightwing and stuff like that. And even like that Boom Studios book. I'm super excited for that. So I'm hoping it'll be a stronger top 5 next week.
Yeah, we can only hope. But so I guess it's the portion of the show where we talk about what we got going on. And Kat, I know you got a big Kickstarter going on right now.
I do. So I'm going to start screen sharing because I didn't get to talk about it towards the mid version of this video. But I do have a Kickstarter for another week or so. So we are 5 backers away from 400. So that'd be wonderful to hit that soon. So we're also like $500 away from unlocking our second stretch goal, which is for everyone to get pretty much like 20 indie books for less, $1 or more, but you could back this up for $1 and you're getting all these indie books. But yeah, it's about a high school girl. This is Life Valley Daughter is about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her. And then she inherits his abilities. And then we have Haunting, which is the book is crossing over with, which is about a young boy who has ghosts following him and doesn't want to take responsibility for that. So they meet, and the book is a lot about responsibility and what that means to be a hero as they are at a Halloween dance at Casey's school, and ghosts and zombies take over. And again, they have to team up. So classic crossover book, very new reader friendly. If you've never read either book, is easy jumping on point. So hopefully you guys go check it out. Like I said, we have 8 days left. We have until next Thursday for this campaign to end. So we're super excited about it, and hopefully you guys can support. It's very interesting. Me and my writing partner, Phil, we've been doing our scheduling for Kickstarters, and it looks like we're not stopping. We're going to have Kickstarters. Like when one ends, we're going to look another Kickstarter and then another. And it's so fun to kind of be in that place right now. So because of you guys being able to support.
Absolutely. All right. And anything else, Kat? Or is that
just Comic Uno, best comics of the week tomorrow. Other than that, that's pretty much it for me this week.
Okay, cool. And I also am part of a Kickstarter going on right now. I guess I'm part of the one you just shared too.
That's true.
Yeah, but I'm also part of this one, which is Not So Fairy Tales, a fractured fairy tale anthology, which is loaded with tons of creators, 172-page hardcover book with tons of great stories. And one of them is by myself and my wife, Lisa, which is called Labor of Love, which is a take on the old woman who lived in a shoe. And we kind of go into child labor and different things in a fun, rhyming way. So that's my story. And you can also get a 40-page free preview of the book by clicking this link on the page, so you can check out several of the stories with tons of creators involved, like Clay Adams, Russell Nolte, John Eddingfield the second is the one running the campaign. But we are very close, less than $200 away from funding right now, and close to 260 backers with 2 weeks to go. Ends at the end of the month, so go check that out. Not So Fair Tales. And beyond that, I am just in production and fulfillment phase soon. Be sending a bunch of stuff to the printer, waiting on some funds. Just came in for PC for pneumatic cases, and waiting on for the puzzles and just all that going on. But as far as Comic Book Weekly goes, don't forget that the audio version of this show goes live on Fridays on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. So check that out. And yeah, that's it. So
yeah, thank you guys for being part of the show. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah,
and
so definitely
do all those things.
Yeah, do all those things. Subscribe, hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, check out us on social media, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks.